Hey guys, what is up and welcome to my channel. It's a Hardback Life. My name is Jordan, and today we're going to be talking about my October wrap-up and then my November TBR. Now, for my TBR, it's going to be a little bit different this month because I'm going to tell you straight up, it's going to be a series-focused month, where I focus on a lot of series that I really want to either catch up on or finish. But there also will be some like standalone books and other things like that I'm reading. So fear not, I'm still reading other books, but there are some series that I really, really want to focus on or even just finish because I'm on the final book. So, yeah. But anyway, you guys, let's get to it. Okay, so straight up, I will tell you, October was not a huge reading month for me. I read about the same amount of books that I read in September, which was 2 books. And that is due to the fact that, you guys, I worked so much in October. It was ridiculous at the amount of hours that I worked. And I'm part-time at my job. So, um, yeah, so, but I was basically working full-time because so many people freaking called out that, and I am a reliable, like, coworker, so they always call me in to do hours if I'm not scheduled, which is kind of fine. It's fine in the sense that, I want the hours, but at the same time, it's like, I would rather be at home reading because I lose time for reading when I work, and I usually work like depending on 6 to 8 hours a day. But yeah, anyway, let's get to the reading of what I read. I read Crooked Kingdom and The Vanishing Stair. Crooked Kingdom, which was the first book I read and finished in the month of October, is the second and final book in the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I understand now, after reading this book series, why the hype is so real. It's ridiculous how much this book series is talked about on BookTube, like it's beloved. And I totally get it, like, because this book series was fantastic. I gave both books 5 stars because guys, Leigh Bardugo's character work is unreal. Like, it's out of this world. The way she like paints the picture for you in the book when it comes to like the setting and the characters and just your surroundings and whatever, like, is amazing. I think she's definitely gone down as one of my favorite authors after just reading 2 books of hers. At least my favorite author in fantasy, one of my favorite authors in fantasy. So, and Six of Crows is now one of my favorite book series of all time. It's gonna go on that list. So yeah. But anyway, if you didn't know, Six of Crows duology is about a group of 6 people who are like this like really crazy like band of misfits who are outcasts in their world, and they come together to commit a heist. So Kaz Brecker, to set up, is basically he's approached by this rich guy who wants him to break into this freaking like high prison facility, like, that's very heavily guarded and just impossible to get into and break somebody out. He wants him to do that. But obviously Kaz realizes he cannot do that by himself, so he recruits 5 other people with several different skills, and yeah, they basically travel on this journey to like break into that prison and yeah, get this person out. That's basically what it is. It's a great book series. It's full of like just great character work, and the plot is also carried through this book. So, um, if you are someone who really enjoys a good plot in the story and then a great character work, the Six of Crows duology is for you. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to do a more in-depth, non-spoiler and spoiler-filled um, thing about this series. Second book I read was Vanishing Stair by Lee. I almost said by Lee Bardugo. This is by Maureen Johnson. This is the second book in the Truly Devious series. This is a dark academia and young adult like murder mystery type book. And our main character Stevie Bell gets accepted to this private school called Ellingham Academy, where she is her main thing that she loves to do is solve crime. So she goes to the school with the major intention of solving this cold case that happened in the 1930s. Emphasis on cold case because they never really truly solved it. And so her main goal is to solve the case that happened at that school in 1930s, 1936, I think to be exact, where the guy who started the school, Albert Ellingham, his wife and daughter were kidnapped and murdered, as at least so it's to believe, and also a young student named Dottie Epstein was murdered as well. And that's not a spoiler. That's actually part of the synopsis in the book. But while she's there, though, another student starts or dies, and she has to also figure out how that happened. So it's really cool. It's really good. I have the first book here. Truly Devious, the first book. I read that in September. Fantastic. It was a little slow, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah, so this is the first book. Great book. And like I said, I finished this book last month, the second book, Vanishing Stair. And for this month, I'm just going to get it out of the way. I'm going to finish the trilogy by reading the third and final book in the series called Hand on the Wall. Alright, and that was my little bit of a wrap-up, by the way, with the inclusion of one book that I'm currently reading. And let's get to my TBR. Alright, you guys, so as I said, this is a series-focused month where I read nothing pretty much but series. And I've already started that. I actually finished a book yesterday or 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago. I finished the second book in the Dresden Files called Full Moon by Jim Butcher. This is an ongoing series about a detective, or a wizard/detective named Harry Dresden, who basically he's a wizard and he helps the police solve paranormal and supernatural cases. It's really fun. I read the first book, which is this one, Stormfront, in July. I had to think about that for a moment. And I finally got to this one, Full Moon. Each book has its own case, so it's really cool. I gave the first book 4 stars. It was a strong opening. And then I gave this one, Full Moon, book number 2, 3 stars, just because it was kind of slow in the beginning, or actually it was like, yeah, pretty slow. And then like there are just some parts in this book that I feel like didn't need to be there, but Jim Butcher's character work is pretty spot on. He's definitely an author I would recommend if you want to get into more adult fantasy. Jim Butcher is one way to go. And like I said, great book. I finished it. First book I finished of the month of November. Woohoo! And these are actually pretty easy to finish. They're like maybe like 350 to 400 pages on average each book. So yeah, pretty. And I'm also going to start the 3rd book tonight on my way to work via audiobook, and then I'm going to continue to read along with it. So this is Grave Peril. This is the book that I've heard on BookTube where the series really gets going. So I'm really excited to read this one. Anyway, this is Grave Peril. And I'm probably going to do some book shopping this weekend because I want to buy more of the books. I'm not going to buy the rest of them that are out because your boy doesn't have much money. Next series that I'm going to focus on, since I finished Six of Crows duology last month, I am going to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. It's book 1, Shadow and Bone, book 2, Siege and Storm, and book 3, Ruin and Rising. This trilogy is connected to Six of Crows, but not truly connected. Well, okay, so it's set in the same universe, but it is set like multiple years before Six of Crows. So, and I was told that you didn't have to read Shadow and Bone before you read Six of Crows, because obviously different storylines, different characters. I mean, there are some overlapping characters, but it doesn't really like interfere with the story. And this is about our main character, Alina Starkov, who finds out that she is a Grisha, and she has these I don't know exactly much about her powers, but whatever she can do, our other main character, the Darkling, wants to use her for her powers. And she joins the Grisha army. And yeah, so that's all I know about that. I have heard a lot of mixed reviews about this series. A lot of people, I guess, from what I've heard, prefer Six of Crows. But we'll see how this goes. That I am planning on reading, like obviously Grave Peril, because that's an easy book to get through. And then Hand on the Wall, I'm buddy reading this with a friend. I'm planning on reading this for sure. I'm actually started on it. I'm on chapter 2 only though. So yeah, gotta get going. But yeah, there are certain books that I will for sure be reading, and then others that I would like to read, but I may not get to them. Anyway. Next book on this series train is The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in a planned 7-book series by Lee Bardugo, so it's ongoing. Continuing with the train of reading Lee Bardugo books. This is different from anything she's ever written. One, this is her first attempt at adult fantasy. Our main character, Alex, goes to Yale. She gets a full ride to Yale, and she ends up being involved with these group of people who are part of an occult. And she herself has an ability. She can talk to Greys. She could talk to and communicate with Greys, which are ghosts, who I think have not quite passed on or something like that. I could be wrong, but yeah. In this book, I guess a spell goes awry and causes a bunch of chaos. And this is also obviously because it's set in a school. It's a dark academia type book, and I live for those. Obviously, as you can tell, because I'm reading Truly Devious, which is a dark academic type book series. So I can't wait to read this. I know there's been a lot of mixed reviews with this book, so yeah. I'm a little scared to dislike it, because, I mean, like I said, I love Lee Bardugo's writing and her character work, so I'm really hoping I don't dislike it. I'm like on the second chapter, so not much has happened. Next book series that I plan on tackling for surezies, is none other than, ta-da, the Percy Jackson series. Now, a lot of you are probably shook that I have not read this series, but because it's a huge, huge, widely loved series on BookTube here, and I have started this series. I've read The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, and Titan's Curse. All the way through. I've read those first 3 books all the way through. I have read a portion of the Battle of the Labyrinth. Battle of the Labyrinth. I DNF'd that book like several years ago. I don't get mad at me, okay? I know a lot of you are probably gonna hit the dislike button, but I just wasn't, from what I was reading, I wasn't a fan of that book. And I put the series down. I will tell you straight up that I didn't know it was a book series when I was young. I was obviously into Harry Potter and then Artemis Fowl and other book series that I absolutely loved growing up, but I had never heard of Percy Jackson. Now that's probably because Percy Jackson came out in the late 2000s, so 2008 or 9. I was already graduating high school at that time, but I was still reading because, Harry Potter had just finished around that, in 2007 or 8, which was my senior year. But yeah, and then there was other books that I absolutely loved around that time. But yeah, I'd never heard of Percy Jackson until the movie came out. And then I saw the movie, and I loved it. And then I was telling my friends how I loved the movie. And then they looked at me all shook, and I was just like, what? And they're like, how dare you say that the movie was good? And I was like, well, I love the movie. What's wrong with that? And then they're like, they told me all about how it's a book and everything. And I was just like, wait a second, what? And then so because of that, I went back and I read the book. And I got all the books. I read the first book, and I was blown away. I was like, what the heck, man? Like, I loved the first book. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. But my love for the movie changed, which is good, obviously, because books are always better than movies generally. And so yeah, I wouldn't. That made me really mad at the movie. I recently actually donated the Percy Jackson movies to Goodwill where I work because I was too upset to keep them because it reminded me of the time when I read the first book and I was just mad at the director for like taking a lot of stuff out and also aging the characters. Whatever. But yeah, so I loved this book. Sea of Monsters, I wasn't a big fan of. I also didn't like the movie that much either. This is The Titan's Curse, my favorite book in the series, at least that I've read so far. I absolutely love this book, and I love how the Titans become more involved in this book. I mean, that's what, yeah. Anyway, but I love this book. My favorite book in the series. But anyway, you guys, I plan on finishing this whole book series by the end of the month. So, if you are a friend of mine, well, regardless, like, keep me accountable in the comments. Like, below will be my Goodreads account and my Instagram. So if you find me on there, like, message me, or even here on YouTube, message me and be like, where are you at in the Percy Jackson series? Because I need to be accountable and finish this series. Next book series that I'm probably just going to touch on the first book is Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, why are you doing this to yourself? Because I want to read this series. I started the first book like a long time ago. I can't remember when, but I never finished it. And I just decided to collect the books as they're coming out, and I just never read them again. And then I found out Tahereh Mafi wrote more books in the series, and so I kept collecting them. And I waited till the final book, which came out this year. I waited till it came out in order to start the series. Because I can't, sometimes I just can't stand it when I'm reading a book series and then, like, I finally get to the most current book that's out, and then I finish it, and then I have to wait till the rest of the series is released. Yeah. But yeah, now they're all released and I have no excuse. This is a YA sci-fi, or no, not sci-fi, YA dystopian slash fantasy, I believe. Where our main character, Juliet, she has this ability where she can like basically steal someone's energy just by touching them, and her touch can also kill somebody for however long she touches them. So yeah, that's bad. That's bad news. But yeah, so she accidentally kills a little boy, and she's locked up because of it. And she, at some point, wants to get revenge on the people who locked her up. And yeah, so this is about, basically. That's all I know, or remember anyway. Shatter Me. Where's the time? Like I said, you guys, this is going to be a month where I just wing it. So not all of the book series that I have introduced to you that I'm going to be reading for my TBR are going to be stuck to. Some of them will be, and some of them won't. But I'm going to introduce to you another couple series that I plan on reading for sure. And, also a couple books that I plan on finishing as well. Okay, so last month, by the way, I was going to do an author dedication month for Stephen King. That didn't work out because, well, time got away from me. But I started Pet Sematary last month. I'm like 110 pages in. I love this book so far, so I'm going to finish it this month. Okay. Another book series that I really, really want to finish because I read the first one back in July. First book is the Acotar Trilogy at least the original trilogy by Sarah J. Maas. I love the first book. I thought it was pretty good. And I liked it better than Throne of Glass. I'll say that straight up. Acotar is about a girl named Feyre who goes into the woods and she basically does something against the fairies, I guess. At least the fairies call it a bad thing. And so she's punished by having to spend the rest of her days in the fairy court. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I liked it a lot. And I plan on reading this book, A Court of Mist and Fury, Akamath, as other people call it, this month. And then I also hope to finish the series by reading the final book, A Court of Wings and Ruin. So, and I don't think I'm going to read the novella. I don't usually read companion books or novellas. So that's mainly the books that I plan on getting to. Anyway, you guys, I shall talk to you later.